Did y'all do this?
Yes, so I will let either Scott or Lance, if you have the time, to them explain the little newsletter that you have in front of you. Scott or Lance, would you like to explain?
Let's call this meeting to order first.
Okay.
So now we got everybody here, and I think we have our
we're starting. Cool.
acoustics established. So are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll call this meeting to order. Start the meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance. So you all help me recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll read the college mission statement. Madison Community College will provide opportunities for high-quality learning and will enhance the community and personal development in a student-centered environment. So now, Andrea, I will refer to you, and we'll pick up where you left off.
I apologize. So my team came to me about a month ago and said, because Lance and Scott are graduates of Dodge City Community College, and so back in the day with their journalism program, they had a student newsletter, am I correct? Newspaper. So they asked if we could move forward and start a new one again. And I said, absolutely, this is all you guys, you figure out what you want it to look like. We only are going to print enough for you monthly, just the board. We are going to send it out digitally across campus and have one printed for the archives. So what's really interesting, I think what they did is they went through some old yearbooks and pulled a couple of stories, or the newspaper
this time.
and
yeah.
they pulled an older story that you can see, I think it's up on the right-hand side of the page. So they tied that in with the new information. So I think they had a student do a book review. They highlighted some other exciting things happening on campus. So that is for you to take and to share, and we will be sending it out digitally. Would you guys like to expand on what I just said? Did I cover it?
I had that jacket in 1959. Do I need to throw that away now? Really do.
Well, very good, you two. Thank you. This is great. Okay. We always give people in the community a chance to address the trustees and others that have opportunity to do so. Seeing nobody, let's move on to the approval of the minutes as you presented in your book. I'll entertain the motion to approve. I'm ready.
I move approval.
This is a motion for both.
Yes.
Just to be clear. Okay. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Move on to the completion of the agenda, and I trust everybody got the revised copy of the agenda. I'll move to approve. Have a motion to approve the agenda when ready.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We move on to the reports. So Student Government Association, we have Greg Valdez. So thank you for being here.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'll be stepping in for Lindell Mandaris, our president currently. I'm Greg Valdez. I'm vice president of student government. To start off, I'll start off with Beta Theta Kappa's report. To begin, February 12th at 12 p.m., Theta Kappa had a recruitment pizza party in the boardroom, and they're also preparing their regional conference in Wichita March 1st through the 3rd. So I'm excited to see what they bring back from the conference and what they can share with us and hopefully student government. They also had a successful lip sync, which is available on the Facebook page. If any of you guys haven't checked it out yet, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Moving on, we have our Student Nursing Association. They're planning to do a raffle for the students, and what they're planning to do is 80% goes to scholarships and funds that they'll redistribute, I believe, for their nursing program, and 20% will go to the Circle of Hope here in Dodge City, which is a cancer relief group. But other than that, I'll go to choir, and they have started another mural, and I'm going to speak to them about what it's about. That way I can report back to you if I see you next month. Other than that, they also have got a new lounge in the Fine Arts Building. If any of you guys haven't checked that out, I'm sure it looks really nice. And the International Club, they have started their Spanish meetings Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Is that correct, Mr. Stewart? Tuesday. Okay. And they're also deciding on what day or what time they'll schedule their leadership meetings. Right? Okay, so Thursday from 2:30 to 5:30. And the cosmetology department, we also spoke to them about having a ladies' night manicure here at the college, so they're really excited about that. The Nomadars spoke to their representative, and they expressed their joy to see student government reaching out to them, that we can get a cosmetology closer on campus and not just far away, where students might not know what available resources there are. And for student government, February 2nd, we had our homecoming coronation, which I think went really well. It was a lot of fun. It was my first time actually going to a basketball game, which is kind of like weird since most students go pretty often. February 3rd, we also hosted our Super Bowl party at the Little Theater, and Margarita did a lot of that setting up, and it was absolutely beautiful. We had so many snacks for the students, and I think the only thing that people were upset about were the results. Yeah. But we also did something on Valentine's Day. What we did was hand out 3 pieces of candy to students on campus. The first one was to give to somebody they knew, like as a little gift, and then their second piece of candy was for their family members, and the third was to a stranger on campus. That way it created some connections along the campus students, whether they had something to discuss or they didn't feel alone with other students giving a little present. And to finish off, we wanted to do an event before spring break for our students, and I was going to ask the board if you had any other ideas as to what we can do for our students. Any discussion?
All those in favor say aye.
All right, other than that, that's all I have for you guys.
Greg, thank you.
Can Chris tell about the fine arts, the break room, what happened there? Sorry.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Topeka was fun.
Yeah, lots of people there.
Thank you, Miss Kitty.
So we had an anonymous donor step forward after we discovered that there is a student lounge over there in the Fine Arts Building that used to be a practice room, I guess, and the faculty over there decided it was unused, and so they took the doors off and they put whatever furniture they could find in there, which was kind of awful because that furniture smelled and it was very, very old and not comfortable, but the students were using it anyway. And we had a donor go in there and see it and said, this is not acceptable. And they went out and bought 2 wonderful big fluffy couches for that space. And it was installed 2 weeks ago, I believe. And the students have been in there ever since. You go by there, they're sleeping, they're doing homework, they're reading books. So it was a very, very good move, and we're very happy. But that donor didn't choose to remain anonymous for that.
Again.
Again. And that's fine. Are there any questions on that? Okay.
How about Dodge City in Topeka?
Oh, Dodge City Night. Dodge City Night was very well attended. We had several, oh gosh, I want to say almost 200 people there. We had lots of Dodge City representation. Kathy was there, so we were able to chit-chat with Kathy for a little bit. I got to meet the Lieutenant Governor last night, and Andrea went with marketing. We had our big Dodge City display up, and we did notice that some of the things that we placed on the table had been taken, so we're excited about that. It was well attended. The legislators appreciated it. They said thank you a lot. It just seemed to be a really fun night this year, comparatively speaking to some of the years past that we've had. We felt like this one went very, very well. So all of the people involved with Dodge City Night, it was Dodge City CDB, City of Dodge, was Echo Devo involved. The Dodge City Community College was a sponsor as well.
Hospital.
And the hospital.
Victory Electric.
And Victory Electric, yeah, thank you. She's on the committee, so she can tell who all the sponsors were. Are there any questions about last night?
And today, I couldn't be there, but today the city and others are meeting with the governor to talk about our experience with the university center.
Yes, that was a big topic of discussion last night. Every time I went into a little group, there was talk about that university center. So I don't know what the results were about that. Andrea and I left, so.
Do you want to talk about the gift? Part of the gift, Kathy received one gift. I have plenty to share with the rest of the board members. Part of the gift is a coaster, and I had Sherry Curtis. She did on the Glowforge our design. So each one of you will be receiving a gift from last night that was given out to the legislators and the senators. So it was really neat, and everybody on the committee really liked it and talked about the Glowforge and what a neat piece of machinery that is. And what
Yeah,
it can
Sherry
do.
worked very, very hard on those.
Yes.
She did every single one of those.
Yes.
About 200 of them.
320.
320?
And it took her about a month. I mean, it took hours to do it, so.
Yeah. It was amazing.
And what was amazing is you were able to get like 10 legislators up there to do the can.
That's
That
entertaining.
was amazing.
Wood Hill Museum has a video of that on their Facebook page. I encourage you to check it out. One of the guys actually put a skirt on, so, you know, it's not a judgment call. It's a kilt, yeah. But it did, it went very, very well. Dodge City was very well represented by all entities across the city. USD 443 was there, we were there. I mean, I was impressed with how many people had come. We actually I had quite a few legislators asking me questions about Dodge and why is this night important. And so it was nice to be able to tell it from a college perspective as well as my previous tourism perspective. And hopefully that gave them a little bit of insight to pay a little bit more attention to Dodge City and Ford County.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's move on to the trustees.
I wanted to comment again on the students report and thank you. And I'm so pleased that you have taken the lead in recognizing the staff here on campus. So I want to applaud you for that. That's a real leadership situation. So I just wanted to be sure of it.
You want to start off with trustee reports?
Oh, okay, that was part of it. Let me see. And Christie also for her time with the benefit meeting, wherever, oh, there she is. Yeah, that's a good thing. I'm glad you're doing that too.
Thank you.
So really, I guess that's good. Thank you.
Terry?
I don't have it.
I don't have anything.
Jeremy? No.
I did. I have to say, we had a phenomenal curriculum committee meeting. Dan and I worked with Dr. Hawarda and Dean Osmus and received a lot of good information, and I appreciate the effort, and it was so exciting to see the new boards that Dean Osmus bought for the college, and it's amazing what they do in a classroom. Then between Vice President Tamont's report and Dean Osmus' report, thank you for working so closely with the students and doing things for them. It is, when you send them birthday cards and the Instagram accounts are up, all of the Twitter accounts are up, the shout outs to students, the concurrent sessions and stuff, it's amazing. So thank you for everything that you're doing there. And then, if you didn't get to see the saxophone player, his name was Derek Brown, phenomenal. And who was it, Jason that brought him in?
Student activities, I believe.
Student activities?
I believe.
It was amazing. So I was impressed. And once again, hats off to our team for Dodge City Nights in Topeka. They truly set the stage for people. When people came in, they were there at the sign-up counter and presented us in a professional, really pleasing light. So I was proud of all of you guys. Thank you. I'm done.
And she drove home at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh.
Rub it in.
Chris and I took a leisurely trip home.
I have a meeting at noon.
Dan?
I don't have anything.
Okay, I'm going to put Bev on the spot here just a touch. You know, we did have a death in our student family. And Bev, can you talk to this a little bit?
Yes, so it's always our saddest day when we have to notify our campus family that we've lost a student. And it was in the double fatality accident that was caused by the weather over by Rye, Kansas. And we will send out tomorrow morning the obituary and the funeral services, and we've expressed our sympathy to the family. And we're going to be providing some student records that the family has asked for so that they can keep them in her memory. So, great loss.
Re-nursing, right?
And we have, she had been here a couple years back, worked for a year, and then returned pre-nursing, and was planning a career in that area. So it's pretty difficult for her former Dodge City High School classmates. It's difficult on our faculty, especially those that had her in class this semester. And our counselors are both providing counseling services for our students that are impacted by this. And then we also offer counseling services to our faculty as well, because it's difficult when somebody's sitting in a chair every day and then they're not. So life is precious.
On behalf of the trustees of Dodge City Community College, I'd like to express our deepest condolences to her friends and family. We do grieve for your loss. Thank you. Okay. The reports. So, Dr. Forkey, start with you.
Briefly, I'd like to update the board on items that we are making progress on in the IT department. One of the things I noticed in looking at over the budget was the amount that we spend on telecommunications. When I saw we budgeted $50,000, and I'm thinking like, okay, that's probably because we're using analog lines. And so I inquired, and we are, and we need to go to voice over IP, which I think will result in some significant savings there. So we are exploring that. I don't know how much we'll save on that, but I think it'll be several $1,000s. Another thing I noticed, and this was my first week here, was that our server room does not have a backup generator or fire protection. And when I say our server room, I should say server rooms, because all of our servers are not in one room. We have some of them in the administration building, and I think it's, what's it called, the tech building? Okay, and some of them are in the tech building. So we're exploring, one alternative was obviously to buy a generator. Well, that was going to cost $80,000 to $100,000. So we discovered obviously that the dome has a large generator. And that there's a room over in the dome that we think will be suitable to put all of our servers in one location and install a fire protection and suppression system. And obviously the dome also is a shelter, and that will provide additional protection for our valuable computer. So we think we can save a significant amount of money there by buying a generator to back up our servers. Another item that we're doing is investigating increasing the college bandwidth. Currently we are using AT&T for 200 megabytes per month. And it's $2,200 per month. We are investigating with AT&T, United Wireless, and Canran to bump that up to 1 gigabyte, which is 5 times the bandwidth, for about the same amount of cost, or perhaps even less, because we are going to apply for a grant. So we hope to achieve some savings there as well. Finally, on the IT side, our Genzivar implementation is progressing. We're in the conversion of data right now. We're converting that data, and training starts next month. So Again, Mike didn't have enough to do, so I loaded up with some other stuff. One other area that I want to mention, it's not IT related, but there was an area downstairs on the second floor that I noticed wasn't being used very much, and that's in the Conch Corral. At 3 o'clock, the Conch Corral, the concession area closes, and so the table tennis equipment, the pool tables and everything like that aren't being used from 3 o'clock on. So what we're going to do there is put in a security gate to block off the concession area where Great Western equipment is. And that'll allow us to open up in the recreation area for the students can come in there and play table tennis. And we can have in-real table tennis tournaments and pool tournaments and other things in there. And so that's something that we thought we could do to provide another source of entertainment or activity for the students.
Tell them also you're going to get, are you going to get an engineer to look at the,
Yes, the engineer comes Friday. This is the original engineer, Dudley Williams, that told us, our guys at college, to make certain modifications to the old gym, which we did. And then, so another engineer comes in and says, well, the structure's still unsound. So I'm asked the original engineer to come in and say, and to advise that, to tell us, okay, we did what you asked us to do, and you told us that would make it sound, so why now is it not sound? So we'll be talking with him and hopefully can get a more positive opinion or some type of direction where we need to go on that facility.
Glenn, I asked you on, you brought up your server. What kind of requirements that are put upon us for the security of that server, access to it, things like that? Are there mandates from?
Well, I'm gonna defer to Mike. Is Mike in here? Mike is not in here. Okay. I was gonna defer to him. Obviously, that is a concern, and right now, that's something you just don't want anybody to walk in and have access to. It is under, it's under a lock right now, but it's fairly secure in the business office. You really have to get around it and get into it. Tyson, what's Tyson? Culver. He has an office in there, so he's also monitored, but he's in and out. But, and I don't know that I think we do keep that door locked somewhat, but that is important to do. And if you're talking about cybersecurity, are you talking about cybersecurity or physical security?
Well, both, the physical security,
Yeah.
people having unauthorized access to it.
Right now, it's it would be almost impossible unless somebody broke into it, just because everybody that they would have to go by to get to that room.
But still, I mean, the data that could be lost, the
Yeah.
risks inherent in that.
Now, physically, if you had a bad tornado to hit that building, it'd wipe it out where your zone is much safer. So, but now you have your data that we back up to the cloud every night, so anyone else that get tapes. So we've got that covered. And cybersecurity is also a big issue now. But some colleges have that. That's all they have dedicated. I mean, we had another spam issue today. They impersonated Carla. And at first glance, I tried to answer it. Then when they said, buy some Amazon cards, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Carla. I don't care if your niece, it is her birthday tomorrow, but, but those are some things, that you always have to be on watch for. And if you have virus protection, things like that, we monitor and have notifications when things, specific alerts, where downloads and things like that are coming along, trying to hack our system. So there are features and things put into place to kind of help prevent that.
Do you do any training with staff that, if they get on the internet or go to different sites where they can expose themselves to a virus that would corrupt your system? Do you do any training with staff to stay on those sites? Because they kind of base you into things you think they're legitimate.
Right. There is a policy on that. I don't know to the extent on how often we do training on that. Certainly, we warn people when we give them when they first arrive and say, hey, here's our information technology policy. We tell them to read it. And obviously the policy itself says what you can and can't look at on the internet, and just obviously be careful about downloading things from the internet, sites that are inappropriate. As far as the IT staff physically training, that's not good.
You might want to think about that. Just give some scenarios.
Harry?
Yes.
Sorry, this is Adam. Mike actually did a training at one of our in-services a little over a year ago on cybersecurity and some of those types of things. So that is something that Mike did cover with the staff at an in-service.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Adam.
Does that cover all staff or just faculty?
It was open to everybody, but sometimes only the faculty come to the in-services due to the timing of it, so I'm not sure who all attended, but it was open to everybody.
What we might be able to do is to create a video that they can watch on, do it that way, where we might type my time.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Adam. Okay. Are you done then, Dr. Ford?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next up, we'll go to Jacob Ripple.
Trustee Harshberg, before I start, I would like to take the opportunity to actually introduce our new head football coach to the Board of Trustees, and Ricky Kuhn, and I think he wants to address a little bit of what they've been doing since he's been on board.
Just want to give you guys a quick update on our football program and kind of what we've been doing and where we're at. Really excited to be here. It's been hard to wipe the smile off my face the last month and a half or so. In the process of putting together a staff, we're almost there. We got one on the docket tonight. Really excited about him. We will be one down. We'll have one more full-time guy to get. From a recruiting standpoint, that's the first thing we did. I had to come in and hit the ground running from a recruiting standpoint. And right now, we're at about 52 signees, which is pretty good. We had about a month and a half to do that. And so we're really excited about that. Within those signees, we've made a pretty good push for in-state players. That's something that I'm very, very passionate about, being an in-state person myself, growing up in Wichita and graduating from a Kansas high school and then coming here to Dodge City about 20 years ago and being a student athlete. And so it's something that I've talked about a lot to a lot of different outlets, and we're not going to waver from that. As of right now, we're at about 5 Kansas players. They had 2 on the team last year. We sent out 2 letters of intent today to Kansas student athletes, and we're hoping to be around 15 by the start of fall camp. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but I think if you think about where the league's at and where our program was at last year, it's a pretty good jump. And part of that is what we're finding is the Kansas student athletes aren't familiar with junior college football anymore, because none of the, when I was in school, you went on 8 junior college visits, and now they're not doing those things. And so we have to do a good job now that we're here and we have a full calendar year to educate them on what is junior college football in Kansas, what it can do for you, how it can help you. And so we're really excited to do that. And so I think with a full calendar year to be able to do that, we should be able to grow that number every year. We got some area guys, Giles Johnson from here in Dodge City. We're on him pretty good. Feel pretty good about him. There's Pawnee Heights, Kate Scott, Mineola, Jeremy Fatt. So there's some guys, some local guys that we're trying to get into our program for a lot of different reasons. And it's going to be a process. So we're really excited about that and look forward to trying to get more of those as we go. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're at about 38 players on campus right now. That's not very many. They're working really hard. We've been very happy with what they're doing in the weight room right now. We're probably going to hit the grass April 1st for spring practice. So getting excited for that. And so we're trying to add value in the community as much as we can. We've been out, we've done some things within the community. We've got some phone calls and went out and helped people move stuff. We've read the kids. We've done some different things, trying to add value as much as we can. So if there's anything that we can do to help the college and help us add value to the community, we're willing to do that and excited to do that. So That's kind of my update, and I'd be happy to field any questions anybody has about anything.
I do applaud you for your efforts with Kansas kids. I think that's extremely important. You and I are both here, and we had a lot of Kansas kids here, and did well, so.
Absolutely.
We're glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Coach, overall, since not many Kansas kids are being recruited by the others, what's the potential number of Kansas kids that would be good football players?
Sure, I think that it varies. I would like to be, I think in a perfect world, on a 85-man roster per se, I'd like to be in that 30 to 35 range of Kansas players. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I think there's some really good players that can help our football team. And number two, on game day, that's going to be more moms and dads and aunts and uncles and those type of people in the seats. And so that's going to obviously bring some revenue to our program and our school from admissions and concessions and those things. And those kids are just losing opportunities right now because of this. And so I think in that 30 to 35 range is ultimately a pretty good number with the way the rules are set right now.
We'll say, I think we had an extremely good kid from the high school here, signed with SEMO. That was lovely to have him here.
I did too good a job recruiting him at SEMO, so I recruited him for 10 months. Then I came here, so I kind of did myself wrong on that one.
Nice to have him here with us, and I wish him well.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update, and I know you guys as the board have most of this information, actually all of this information, dealing with what ended up being a violation with the NJCA. I kind of came about to looking at it. I try to take some time every week to read our rule book over just to make sure that I'm not missing anything, and I came across a bylaw that worried me, and I'm actually going to read the bylaw specifically. And it says legal counsel and bail. No college personnel nor representative of a member college's athletic interests may post bail or provide legal counsel for a student athlete. Unfortunately, obviously, we've had some student athletes have some problems, and they were represented in this case, and unknowingly, I think, by everybody involved at this point, unknowingly by Trustee Malone, and in the end, when I contacted the NJCA, they called any board member not personnel, but a representative of athletics interest, which I thought was an interesting term on some of the things, because by that means, and I've talked to other athletic directors about this within our conference, by that means anybody that's any legal person that would be a member of a booster club would be considered that as well, and could run into this bylaw as well. And it's really scared a couple of the other ADs since they've seen this ruling. However, in the end, the NJCA did determine that we had self-reported on 6 student athletes. However, only one of those, and I think this is a little bit of a, props to some of our coaches, in only one of them competed after their legal issues. The rest of them, our coaches, kind of made some decisions that weren't necessarily easy, but they did not compete after they had been in trouble. But for that one, we did receive sanctions for that one that did, and in the end, we had to forfeit 2 football games. And one of the things that I've had to do since this letter came out is I did have to notify the 2 institutions that we forfeited to, which would have been Coffeyville Community College and Ellsworth Community College in Iowa, that we did forfeit those games, and that has been done, as well as a copy of those to the national office and our region director. So that's kind of kind of where we are now, it's been an interesting topic of discussion within our region directors and other athletic directors, because I think it's been one of those things that's been, it's been interesting to see their reaction to it too, because they all realize that they could possibly have that issue going as well. And that's not necessarily a board member, but a booster, and so that's one of the things that's really come about. So I'm open to answering any questions about it. I'm definitely open to answering anything.
I think we are fortunate to get 2 games.
I do think we're very fortunate. A lot of times when you have, obviously, student athletes were on a letter of intent, and when you have a violation by a student on a letter of intent, a lot of times you'll lose a scholarship in that situation, and the NJCA's basic rule is 2 to 1. So you lose 2 scholarships for every 1 violation. I've seen it happen to other schools before. So we could have lost, it would have been 4 scholarships in football, 4 scholarships in men's soccer, 2 in softball, and 2 in men's basketball would have been what we were looking at. And so I think we were very fortunate, and the NJCA said, only one of them competed, and I think the other piece of it is I think they were somewhat, I don't want to say lenient, but somewhat understanding in the fact that we did self-report, that we found it ourselves and made a point to report to the NJCA, hey, we found this and we believe that we may have violated a bylaw here. And I think that was, matter of fact, the opening statement from the NJCA in our penalty letter said, first and foremost, thank you for filing the self-report. The integrity of the NJCA is relying on the membership doing the right thing. So I think that carried a lot of weight in how we handled the situation.
Coach Coons, that won't affect you the next year, okay?
Nope, we're good.
May I say something? I worked closely with Jacob on this, and he identified an issue. He got background information in order to clarify where he was with the issue. We quickly tried to review it. He led the review of it, and then self-reported it. And I just want to compliment him on how he took this issue and how he handled it. I thought he did a really good job. And I think that probably helped us much with the NJCAA because of the way it was done.
You're also on the football committee too, aren't you?
I am on the National Football Committee, yes.
The odd thing that I thought about that was all the years I was trustee and a prosecutor, I got lots of phone calls about someone in trouble. Of course, prosecutors hold all the power, and that is a much more potentially, unusual situation. So if a prosecutor was a trustee, he could go ahead and handle the case and show a lot of leniency toward the athlete. Where when you're a defense attorney, you just kind of beg, and but I don't think they could stop prosecutors from holding both positions. So, but that's where the real, if they were worried about favoritism would come in.
I think it actually started when you had agents, football, pro agents that were also trustees. That's some of those issues. Money could be made.
I missed out on
Anything else? Okay, so let's move on to the action items. Christie, that is? Yes? Christie.
Sorry.
Sorry, just bumped you.
That's all right. Good evening. In December, by recommendation of the staff, and administration, we presented an employment appointment to the board in executive session regarding policy number 806, which is about the employment of a relative of an employee. In the executive session, we discussed the terms of employment, and it was approved by the board, and the employee could begin work in January of this year, 2019. When the board approved that position, however, the board and Trustee Harshberger specifically asked that we create some type of checks and balances and make sure that we as administration are monitoring ethical behavior and occasionally providing an update to the board. So by Dr. Nolte's request this evening, I'm here to update you that I have met with the supervisor of this employee. Her and I reviewed the responsibilities and duties of this position and all the potential risks of nepotism and risks of potential unethical behavior. And with that, I created a memo of understanding between the employee, the supervisor, and myself, representing the administration of kind of where those lines were drawn and ways to adjust her duties in a way that would not put her in an unethical situation. And so what we've done is any kind of financial information, whether it's bills, vendors, receipting, anything like that has to do with the employee or her family member, it will be conducted by her counterpart and or her supervisor. And like I said, this was discussed between the three of us and signed by myself, her supervisor, and the employee. And so if you have any questions about that, that's our update. It was placed in the personnel file just as document so that we would have that as a first step. Any questions?
Our goal is to watch that very carefully. Definitely not make sure that a supervisor is reporting to a spouse or a child. We had that a lot here recently. We're trying to avoid that at all costs. You know, we're in a small town, we understand that, but like Jane will tell you, we're starting to get applicants, which is great for our different positions in our faculty positions and other positions, and so we will be very cognizant, sir, of making sure that that doesn't happen, hopefully at all, but you know, as rarely as possible. Because it does make it for a hard situation sometimes. We all know that.
It's important that anytime we make an acceptable policy that we do have other measures.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Now we move on to action items. So we have work policy 212, conflict of interest, second reading.
Okay, we're asking for your final approval on the second reading for this policy. And you will recall it is the one that was just bringing us in sync with the new organizational time frame in January and those kinds of things. We changed some of that, so the organizational meeting is at a different time frame. So this was just updating the policy so that it's in sync with the way things operate. And we had no suggestions or requests since last month for any further revisions. So we're asking for your approval.
Move approval. Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you. We move on to the word pay, the gateway services application for the bookstore.
Yes, this agenda item pertains to requirements implemented by the Graham-Leach-Wiley Act of 1999, which implemented payment card industry standards. Pertains to whenever you use your credit card, you know, there are certain protocols and encryption requirements, and this is what this refers to when they say PCI compliance here, this background information. It's payment card industry compliance requirements. And so any entity that has and uses credit card machines, like our bookstore and the business office, has to use certain software. It has to have encryption and everything like that, software security requirements implemented in it. We were using Vantiv, but now the company we're using now, the new contract called WorldPay, has software that we are needing to be using to ensure that we remain in compliance. Part of the contract that we were looking at, they omitted certain language that Kansas statute says, hey, you gotta have this in there. We went back to the vendor, they said, no, we're not gonna do that. Well, the statute also says that if the board approves, you know, the language can be edited. So this is what we're coming to the board now with this contract. Mr. Kurtz has looked over it, and it's needed to be in PCI compliance with the grant leach flow.
Is there any other routes we can take?
Well, not because the Missouri Bookstore Company, which we use, they use this software, so it's kind of like, it's the only software they use, so we kind of go.
So Glenn's, his comments on verbiage is here, so I'll let you espouse it.
There are three different sections within the contract that require the board to basically waive or approve, specifically approve those provisions remaining in the contract, which is kind of interesting. There are three of them that we're concerned about. We really thought we were going to get a lot more, and we were concerned that there would be some provisions in there that the board couldn't waive. And then what would we do? Because World Pace is kind of the only game in town. And those did not appear in the contract. We're happy about that. But this agreement includes a disclaimer of warranties, serving, or which basically says that software is provided as is. It includes a limitation of liability, and then also it has a provision that if there were to be some sort of litigation, or was to be some sort of litigation or a dispute, prevailing party could recover attorney fees. All three of those are items that require the board to affirmatively approve and allow in the contract. And in a contract such as this with software, these are not uncommon provisions to find. And you've been there before with other software contracts.
And this is kind of why we have a separate cybersecurity policy in our insurance. The company, the workplace says, hey, we don't want to be held liable if we got some hacker from Russia that comes in here and steal their data. So we fall back to our insurance carrier, which we have a cybersecurity policy.
Okay. Any questions for Glenn? Do I have a motion to approve? Well, I think we're approving the contract with WordPay. And then Glenn has given his remarks on those three items, and if you're comfortable with omitting those items or accepting them as is, then you'll approve the contract.
I am,
So moved. Okay. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, so moving on to resolution 2019-01. So,
Glenn, you start? You start and you finish it up? Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure we're not finished with this.
I don't either. No. We, at one time there were 6 institutions, now there are 4 of us with Educate. Did it many years ago. Educate is one of those things, it's our online service. How it all started is certain students may have wanted a calculus 4 or some higher level class, and obviously we didn't have the ability to teach just one student. And so Educate came in, and I think they started that, I think it was 2002, around there.
Yes.
And I think each institution put in about $125,000, is what I understand. And so now, interesting thing happened recently is Kobe decided to pull out of that. They have a very robust online program. That's how they grew 9% this year. Garden City has not really worked at it, but it's one of those things that they probably need to. We're not making the money I'd like us to make. Matter of fact, it looks like Seward and Pratt are doubling our enrollments. And so we need to work harder at that, but also we need to be more interested in our, like Mark Milliron was talking about, we need to be more interested in our, they call it blended. That's students taking, face-to-face as well as online. And so we'll start working hard to get us where we need to be. But right now, there's 4 institutions. We had close to over, in that, we had close to over 719 students. We beat Barton out, but just to give you an example, Dodge had 1,719 students online in the EduCan. Pratt had 1,500 and Seward had 1,200. So we've got some work to do. And but both of those pulled out, and I know that Colby was very interested in doing. They're so close to the border there to certain states, and they're able to work on getting those states to help them get online students. So that's we're divorcing. Now there's 4 of us. There were 6 of us. I guess it's called divorce, isn't it? When you break up. So we're breaking up with Garden and Colby.
I'm not sure that we have 6 of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going there. Go ahead.
Well, you did a wonderful job. Really, this is a request by EduCan to reaffirm the commitment of the 4 remaining schools, and so they got a restatement of what the interlocal agreement is, very similar to what the original interlocal agreement is. It primarily is a restatement of it, or a reaffirmation of it by the remaining schools. And so they're asking that you approve the resolution, which in effect approves the interlocal agreement between the 4 remaining schools.
So we had a work session today, and it was asked. So right now, the members are currently paying $25,000 per year, and there were 6 members. Now it goes down to 4. And the question was asked whether there's going to be more burden of this placed on the other 4, and the answer we have is probably not. So I don't believe just because was 6 now 4 that membership will change. So agreed.
Well, it looks like actually Kobe gave up almost 1,000 students that they would have gotten this year. Now Garden was kind of like us, 689 students, but that'll be broken up between the 4 of us. So sorry about their luck.
I move approval. Well, let's get a second,
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right.
Were there any extenuating circumstances that you don't know, besides the fact that we really didn't need it?
They're really working hard on their online. Their numbers have really come up because they're doing that. A lot of schools have seen significant increases because, not only with it's just a form of teaching. And a lot of students are interested in maybe taking 9 hours or 12 hours face-to-face, and then they may go to they go home, they go to their rooms, and then they take 6 hours online. And so Colby realizes that, and so did Garden. Actually, some of the residential schools were the ones that really got involved in online, especially your baseball teams. Your baseball and softball, because they play so many games in the spring that they're not able to go ahead and go face to face in some of those classes, and because they're always playing in the afternoons and things like that. So it really has turned out to be a good thing for a lot of people. And I'll just give you an example. Phoenix at one time was the only game in town. Phoenix had over 600,000 students. Now they're down to 125,000. Which just tells you that. So other schools are, and then major universities are buying out these online universities, and just like K-State just bought, their global that's the online program that K-State's using, and it's going very, very well. So it's like I was talking to the group this morning at lunch. Our students are digital. We're in a digital age. We're no longer using a lot of things that people used 30 years ago. And our students, you look at your grandkids and your kids now. My daughter's on her phone a lot. Matter of fact, I have to take the phone away from her to have a conversation sometimes. But the thing is people are it's a digital age, and we need to be keeping up with it. And just like some of you were able to, I think, Kathy and them saw some of the smart boards we're using, or some of the modern conveniences. And that's what students are looking for. I mean, the high schools all around this place have them, and so we just need to be keeping up with that also. You know, you hate for them to come here and then realize, well, we don't have those kind of things. So,
And that isn't gonna stop.
it's not gonna stop, I can promise you. Look at things, how changing, things are changing quickly, just like jobs. You know, the jobs of yesterday are not here today. You know, we've got to keep up with that. And nursing is one of those that seems to stay, you know, pretty up to date, but there are other things that don't.
I'm excited. I think we need to really move forward with the online. As a former educator, a lot of my parents would not have gone to college if it hadn't been online programming. And family at home and no time except when you get the kids to bed and then you did your classes.
Well, and single parents, it's a big deal. You know, you're working a job all day long, and it's hard for you to get a babysitter and come up here. So, I mean, it's, for your traditional students, it's an opportunity, but for your non-traditional, it's really an opportunity. And that's where you see, I mean, one of my institutions, I was growing by 28% every semester because of online. And it's not an end all, but it is one of those opportunities for people to get what they need.
So it caters to a specific need, and those that can't be traditional students, and we need to be receptive to our potential students' needs, and basically be in business of education. That means if we're after our, at nighttime classes, then we need alternate nighttime classes.
An opportunity for the high school students to take some classes.
Okay.
And we certainly need to be aware of potential that we have not offered yet. It's out there. If we look.
One thing I do want to explore, like with Ryan out there in the smaller schools, is a lot of times you'll have your professor that's able to do it online, but you have someone there at the school that helps monitor that and make sure that it's going well. Make sure those students are keeping up with their homework or assignments. So there's all sorts of opportunities out there for that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, item E, which is the Chandler sublease and master lease agreement. So, Adam, you have the floor.
All right, thank you so much. I kind of missed you guys after being gone for a couple days, so I thought I'd call in, so I appreciate you having me. As you guys know, based on our meeting last week, we're going through some changes with a change in helicopter provider from Universal to Quantum. Universal is located in Scottsdale, Quantum is located down in Chandler, which is, depending on traffic, anywhere from a 45 minutes to an hour drive one way. The timing of it is actually pretty nice because our lease for our facility in Scottsdale is set to expire here in a few months. It will last several months. I've been spending quite a bit of time looking for a new location, a more permanent location for us, and I'm very, very excited about the space that I'm presenting to you guys tonight. What we're currently paying in Scottsdale is roughly right around $8,000 a month, a little under $8,000 a month for about 3,700 square feet. And what the space down in Chandler is less than half that on a monthly basis. The other thing that's exciting about this is pretty much all of our furniture in Scottsdale was owned by Universal. And so as we terminated the agreement, they took all their furniture with them. And so this location is going to provide all of the office furniture at no additional charge. So we will need some classroom tables and a few things like that. But it's going to be a huge savings, not only in monthly rent, but also we're not going to have to buy office furniture and those types of things. And then kind of the last thing that I wanted to point out is as we've been working with the state approving agencies and with the VA, one of their concerns was obviously that we didn't have a long-term lease down in the Chandler area, beyond the next few months. And so this would, again, be a signal to the VA that we are committed to our students, that we are committed to the program. And like I said, we've got a 2 year and 4 month lease. So I think you guys can see there the pricing, about $3,600 for the first year, $3,700 for the second year. So with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Questions from Adam?
Adam, could you repeat, what would be the date of the changeover for the office?
Yeah, so this lease would be effective March 1st, and so there would be a couple months overlap, which is why you see that there's 3 months of free rent, is to help offset those costs of the overlap. So the lease would be effective March 1st. That'd give us a couple months to get moved over and set up to in operations there in Chandler.
Thank you.
Dr. John, this may be a question for Mr. Curbs, but on the termination option, Glenn, does that mean that it could be terminated in June of this year? It says at the end of the fiscal year.
That we could, for
Yeah.
not appropriate, yes, that's at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
And it's important to know, this is a sublease. There's a lease already in place, and this is a sublease to us.
Can we sublease?
I think it does, we have to have approval in order to do so. And it's a 28-month period.
Any other?
I'm sorry.
No, I was just asking if there's any more.
Dr. John, it says there something about if we did terminate, we'd have to reimburse the 3 months of giving us free, but also the full brokerage commission. Do you know what that is?
I do not know the exact amount of the brokerage commission. I know it's a 3%, 5%, something of that nature, but I can find out for sure, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Right. Thank you.
Anything further?
Well, yeah. Do we have any students?
We are working on it, and we will have some hopefully very soon.
All right. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Move on to board policy 2T, ethics.
Okay, after this was printed, trustee Malone sent us what he would like for us to consider also. And so today at our work session, we decided we will table this until our next meeting so that we will be able to work it or try to find how to fit it in, to integrate it into what we have now, to see if we can blend them both together.
Oh, mine, I'm sorry, Captain. Mine was just, I think, that short thing is what it'll be, that paragraph only. So it's actually just a repeat at the start, the preamble of this, and just the oath of office after that. So, I didn't mean it to add it on to what we have.
Well, then, I guess because Dr. Presley and Kathy and I are on that committee, I would still be in favor of tabling it until the governance committee can do this work so that we can bring it back next month with input from the governance committee, since that's our assignment.
I would concur with that.
I'd so move to table the board policy for 210.
Do I have a second? Okay. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you for the work.
Notes. All right, thank you, Governance Committee, for taking that up for your consideration. All right, on new business, we have Board Policy 218. So, Terry?
Oh, okay.
Do we have it?
It's already here.
We tabled it.
We did?
No, this is 218.
That's
218.
Code of
New.
ethics.
Correct. We tabled Code of Ethics, and now new business is number 218.
Yes, right.
Yes, so that's,
Actually, a bill was presented to the legislature this year to require all governmental agencies to record all of their sessions. I don't think that passed, but they, Brad Ralph indicated it needed some work, but they thought that it might pass next year. But I think that it is in the best interest of the college and the community if we would record all of our open meetings. Most people can't get to them, and a lot of people watch them on TV, so that's what I thought I should bring up.
okay. Discussion on
I agree. It's, I think we'll be recording all our meetings, work sessions, meetings that we have to go over the agenda before the meeting. Probably need to be recorded.
I think any time to give more information to the public is better. And I think we should be followed in some way. How we can do it in an economical way, using some more modern ways of distributing it, instead of spending all the money to give people a disc or whatever it would be. Maybe it's on some other platform, which I'm too old to understand, but most people do.
I think, and that's what I'd like to see before next month, when we vote on this, would be what the financial complications. These cameras seem to be multiplying like rabbits around here, so, and I don't think it was for free, so.
And we had considerations for staffing too, and space. All of those things that are in the decision.
That's what I'd just like to see, what an estimate of the input costs are gonna be, and then I agree, I think, you know, making this available on the website is a much more applicable means of this than providing burning discs and providing DVDs. That's old school. That's stuff medicine still does. We should not regress back to that. We should
But it's available on public access channel sometimes.
Sure.
But I mean, I think we'll make it available on the board's part of the website, so you can go to DC3, which would draw more people to DC3, which I think would be good, so that they can get on there, read about the college, maybe see what's going on more at the website, which I think is very beneficial. I'm getting a thumbs up, thumbs down. So I just, and I think that's a more economical way to do it, fiscally responsible.
And I would say that when it's on public access, which I have no problem with all of that, but you don't get to choose the time you want to watch and which board meeting you want to watch. And if it were readily available to watch at 2 a.m. with popcorn, you know, I'm just saying that it makes it more available. Fast forward, and you can fast forward, you know, you can listen to the Pledge of Allegiance and fast forward to the adjournment.
Most of us are on dish anyway, so, you know, I'm going to also bring this to my group of leadership on Monday morning. You know, if we do this, I think the city, the county, the USD, and everybody else should be doing the same thing, because I don't think any of them are doing this, and I think there should be moved also. Something just a.
So I think, do some discovery onto how we can get it out there, so it's just not, I think it was proposed initially as like if somebody wanted to buy a disc or something like that. I think that shouldn't be a cost. We need to know cost implications and how to get it out there in a different way. I think we're thinking it's kind of archaic. So,
And this could open up, this could revolutionize our opening of giving packets of information like this to boards, maybe give it on, you know, maybe not use so much paper. I don't know.
We've been doing that way for 6 years.
But I think the example is, I mean, not to belabor the point, but I mean, you can listen to the state. I mean, I just sat and listened to the legislature go through their votes today at noontime, live streamed on the internet. I mean, you can, there's easily, you have a need for doing this, and we should be able to accommodate that. And that really opens access up. The point being made is that, yes, being able to access it at times that's convenient for you and not just from channel 8, right?
You know,
Yeah.
there's-
Plays it at 2 in the morning.
There's still a lot of old folks around that don't understand the technology and walk around flip phones, so we can help you with
I
it.
know, they're all on, if we put it on Facebook.
I just say,
Well,
YouTube, they know how to get
10
YouTube.
years ago, I gave everybody, all my board members one of those. And we had no problem.
I will make a comment there. Well, I mean, I've testified in front of the House and Senate here at the state. You know, and the House is all on their iPads. I really watch those guys kind of fumble back and forth and can't keep track. So there's something to said about the paper. Sometimes it's easier for them to keep up. But a lot of it depends on the format you use. The thing we use diligently, and it is a great product. And you see, all the links are right there, so it's so easy to keep up on. So if it's just pages on out of the book, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with as I watch the House kind of fumble around a little bit. So it's how you do it, I think, makes a big difference.
We have some great young IT minds around there. Keep losing it.
I think my daughter.
She's been doing a great job of it, though. I'm not gonna-
I think my daughter can help you.
Okay, so I think we'll have the discussion and thoughts on how to go about that, and have it kind of prepared for next month.
Okay, to answer the question. Trustee Malone, this would be an addition to 218, right?
Yes.
We have 218, this would be just a.
Okay, that's the way I'm. Okay. All right, consent agenda is approved. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have one executive session, so instead of me fumbling it around, I'll just give you something.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend board recess into executive session to discuss an employee position as it relates to continuation of the program pursuant to the personnel matters and non-related personnel exception by Kansas Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting to resume in this location at 7:30 p.m. In addition to the trustees, the president, the college attorney, vice president Tamont, Dean Osmus, and Vice President Warda, via telephone, should be included in the executive session.
Linda. Dr.
Okay.
Sorry.
Have a motion?
I would move to accept the recommendation to go into executive session for the reasons stated by the attorney.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, okay. I didn't hear. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are now in executive session until 7. Okay, we are now back in regular session, but we will need to go back into executive session for another 15 minutes. So, Mr. Kurtz, will you take us into executive session?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board recess into executive session to discuss an employee position as it relates to the continuation of the program pursuant to personnel matters and non-elected personnel exception. The Kansas Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting to resume in this location at 7:47 p.m. In addition to the trustees, the president, the college attorney, vice president Tamont, Dean Osmus, vice president Borgate, and vice president Warda via telephone should be included in the executive session.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we are now into executive session. Okay, we are now back in regular session, and there was no action taken after the end of our executive session. So with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here tonight. Take care of home.